Okay, so get ready because today we are diving headfirst into the future. The future of India, to be exact. We're talking like full-on next century projections here, the kind of stuff that makes you really stop and think like, what will the world actually look like in my lifetime?
No, and we're not dealing with hypotheticals or anything. We're looking at serious, in-depth analyses and projections. We're talking economics, technology, even global governance. Basically, it's about India's journey from this rising power to a potential superpower.
Superpower status, that's a pretty loaded term. But honestly, what really drew me in is this idea. It seems like India is going for a totally different kind of superpower status, not so much about like dominance,
Yeah,
more about collaboration.
you're right on the money with that observation. And it's really rooted in their recent history. Think about it. What have they accomplished just since 2010, becoming the world's fifth largest economy in such a short time? It's practically unheard of.
Fifth largest. I mean, it's hard to even imagine an economy of that scale. What were the biggest things driving that kind of growth?
It's really a mix of factors. You've got a young and increasingly skilled workforce, for one thing, and then there are the economic reforms that opened up markets. Oh, and we can't forget the surge in tech and entrepreneurship. But here's what's interesting. While they're embracing globalization, they're also really clear about the need to be self-reliant.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially with all the global disruptions lately. But going back to their economy, what does the future hold?
Well, projections show three possible paths: optimistic, moderate, and challenging. And we're not just talking GDP numbers here. These have real consequences for everyone.
Let's break it down. First up, the optimistic path. What does that look like?
Picture this. India becomes not just the biggest economy, but a global leader in sustainable development. Think eco-friendly, everything, manufacturing, energy production, setting the standard for the rest of us.
So they're not just lifting their own people out of poverty. They're pushing for a more sustainable global economy that could benefit everyone. That's a bold goal. What about the moderate path?
Even on the moderate path, you're still looking at a much better standard of living for millions of Indians. Maybe not the undisputed global leader, but definitely a major player on the world stage.
So still progress, just maybe not as fast. What could cause them to go down the challenging path?
That's where things get really interesting. It could be internal problems, social unrest, political instability, crumbling infrastructure. Or it could be external shocks like global crises, climate change pandemics, you name it. It shows how connected we all are. What happens on one side of the world affects everyone.
It really makes you think. Even a country with so much momentum can't completely control its own fate. It's about navigating this complex web of internal and external factors. It really underscores how interconnected our world is. But let's shift gears a bit. Let's zoom in on something that hits a little closer to home, even if it sounds futuristic: technology. Specifically, the whole AI revolution that everyone's talking about. How is India positioned to not just ride that wave, but actually shape it?
Well, that's a great question. And crucial point. We always hear about how AI is going to change everything, right? But India is in a unique position to influence how that revolution actually plays out. We're talking about shaping global AI governance, setting ethical standards for how it's developed and used.
Shaping global AI governance, that's a pretty ambitious goal. What makes India particularly suited for that kind of role?
A few things, actually. First off, they've got this massive pool of tech talent, people with experience developing solutions for a really diverse and complex society. Second, their experience with Aadhaar, that biometric ID system we talked about. That's given them this unique perspective on data privacy security.
Right.
All those ethical questions around large-scale tech implementations.
So they're bringing lessons learned to the table, the good and the bad. But let's be real for a second. This potential influence over AI is huge, but it also makes you wonder about the impact on jobs. I mean, won't AI end up replacing a ton of jobs? Especially in a country like India that's developing so quickly.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. And it's something that's being actively discussed and addressed in India. What's encouraging is that they're not shying away from the issue at all. They're taking a really proactive approach with a big emphasis on reskilling initiatives, getting their workforce ready for the jobs of the future.
They're like massive retraining programs, specifically designed for this AI-powered world.
Exactly. And it's not just about filling the gaps that exist now. They're thinking ahead, trying to anticipate the skills that'll be needed for jobs that don't even exist yet. Oh, and on top of the reskilling thing, India is also leading the charge on data ethics laws. And it's not just about protecting privacy either. It's about making sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
I have to admit, whenever I hear about AI, I get a little apprehensive. It's exciting, don't get me wrong, but that fear of job displacement is real. Hearing about these proactive steps, though, the focus on ethics and reskilling, it's reassuring. It sounds like they're trying to create a future where tech empowers people, not pushes them aside.
Exactly. It's all about sustainable progress. Progress that includes everyone. And this approach goes beyond just AI. It's influencing other sectors too, like education and healthcare.
Okay, let's dive into those. How does India's future look in those areas?
Imagine a world where every single kid in India, no matter their background or where they live, has access to high-quality personalized education, all powered by AI and VR case. Classrooms where AI tutors tailor lessons to each student's learning style. VR field trips to transport them to ancient civilizations or the bottom of the ocean.
Personalized learning for everyone. That's amazing. It's like taking individualized education to a whole new level.
And it's not just about access, it's about quality too. AI can help bridge the gap between students and teachers, providing personalized feedback and support in a way that just wasn't possible before.
That's a game changer, especially for a country with such a large and diverse population. It sounds like India is pushing the boundaries of what's possible with education technology. But what about healthcare? How's AI going to change that?
Okay, imagine this. You need to see a specialist, but you live in a small village. No problem. Thanks to telemedicine, you can consult with them from anywhere. Picture AI algorithms analyzing medical images with incredible accuracy, helping doctors make faster and more accurate diagnoses.
That would be revolutionary, especially for people in rural areas, people who might not have easy access to specialists. It seems like telemedicine and AI diagnostics together could really level the playing field for healthcare access.
Exactly. And it's not just about fixing the problems we have now. It's about creating a future where everyone has access to quality healthcare.
It's incredible to think about the impact, the potential these advancements have to change millions of lives. But it's not just about what happens within India's borders, right? What about their role in the bigger picture? How do they see themselves fitting into the global landscape in the coming century? It's like we've been talking about the individual impact, right? How this tech can change people's lives. But now we're zooming out, looking at the global scale. What kind of impact can India have on the whole world order?
Now, that's where things get really interesting. One projection that really stood out to me was this idea of India playing a major role in a future world government.
A world government. Whoa, that feels like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Is that even realistic? Like in our lifetime?
Realistically, it's a long shot. But the fact that it's even being discussed, it tells you something about India's growing influence, their potential to bring people together.
And wouldn't that kind of global cooperation be more important than ever? Especially for things like climate change. I mean, those problems don't care about borders.
You're absolutely right. And you know, it's interesting. A core principle in Indian philosophy is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which basically means the world is one family. This idea of global interconnectedness and shared responsibility, it's becoming more and more relevant these days.
It's a beautiful philosophy for sure, but it's more than just words. India is also looking beyond its borders in a very literal sense, with these ambitious space exploration goals.
Absolutely. Just imagine India leading the way in international Mars colonization efforts. It goes beyond just scientific discovery or planting a flag.
Yeah.
It's about pushing the limits of what humans can do and fostering global unity through shared exploration.
Space colonization, global unity, a potential role in a world government. Wow, that's a lot to process. It feels like we're talking about a whole new chapter for humanity. But let's be real for a minute. It's not all going to be smooth sailing, right? What are some of the big challenges India might face in the coming century, and how could they overcome them?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, and this isn't unique to India, is climate change. But here's the difference. India isn't just trying to deal with the effects, they're actively searching for solutions. We're talking serious investment in renewable energy, innovations in carbon capture, even exploring geoengineering.
Geoengineering. That sounds intense. What does that even involve? And is it actually a viable option?
It's definitely still in the early stages. And it comes with its own risks and ethical questions. But basically, it's about using technology to influence the Earth's climate system. Things like removing carbon from the atmosphere on a massive scale, or reflecting sunlight away from Earth to cool it down.
So potentially turning a problem into a solution, even if it does sound a bit sci-fi. What about other global issues like pandemics? We've all seen how devastating those can be.
That's another area where India could really lead the way. Imagine a global disease surveillance system, really sophisticated, powered by AI, that could detect outbreaks before they turn into pandemics.
Now that would be a game changer. It feels like we're on the verge of something truly remarkable, a brand new chapter in human history. But with all this talk about global challenges and tech advancements, Where does India fit in with sustainable resource management? Their population is huge, and their economy is on track for incredible growth. That's going to put a strain on resources, right?
It's a valid concern, but it's also an area where India is uniquely positioned to innovate. They're exploring things like using AI to optimize resource use, developing really sophisticated models for everything, from water conservation and smart grids to precision agriculture and waste management. And here's a really fascinating part. These models designed for India's specific challenges, they can be used all over the world, offering solutions for a more sustainable future for everyone.
So they're not just solving their own problems, they could become a model for the whole planet. It's mind-blowing to think about the potential impact, the sheer scale of everything we've talked about today, from personalized education and accessible healthcare to shaping global AI governance, and maybe even leading the charge towards a more sustainable future.
And that brings us to the heart of it. India's future is completely intertwined with the future of humanity, their successes and their failures, their innovations and their challenges. They'll have ripple effects across the globe in the century to come.
This deep dive into India's future has been quite a journey. From space exploration to AI governance, from climate solutions to global leadership, the possibilities are both exciting and a little bit daunting.
And that's what makes it so fascinating and right. The future isn't set in stone. It's something we build together through the choices we make and the actions we take.
So to our listeners, as we wrap up this deep dive, we'll leave you with this question. What role will India play in your lifetime?
Stay curious, stay engaged, and never stop asking the big questions. The future is out there waiting to be written.
This has been the Deep Dive, giving you a glimpse into the future one fascinating topic at a time. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep your mind open to the possibilities.